So we really don't want to explore the nature of reality and the nature of things if we have enough pleasure. If we have enough pleasure in our life, if our conditioning at that current time isn't being challenged too much, we would rather just follow the pleasures. So we would rather explore the fun things in the dream than question the nature of reality. It's when the pain and the suffering comes up that we begin to question why we're alive. And it can be external pain and suffering or internal. And when I say external, I mean by seeing other people's pain and suffering, which then creates internal pain and suffering. Or it can be from something internal that happens inside of you. Otherwise, we wouldn't question the nature of reality. I don't even know, as separate people, as animals, as humans, we're even interested in what the nature of reality is. I actually believe that the way that we're set up is that we're interested in knowing how to escape pain. And I think it becomes existential from then. Because the biggest pain there is to us is the idea of death and seeing other people die. And so I get the sense that really why we seek is to avoid our pain of existence. And the pain of existence is the belief that we're alive, that we were born into these bodies, that we're limited to these bodies, and that with these bodies we cease to exist. And we fear the pain that goes with ceasing to exist. We see other animals hurt, and they seem like they're in pain. When we cut ourselves, when we bleed, it seems very painful. So therefore we see that and it concerns us. And we begin to think, why are we alive? Why are we on this planet? And we've been told, we're not positive, but we've been told that we live on a ball in the middle of all this space. So we have an imagination that we're in this ball in all this space, and we think, but why am I alive? What's my importance? What's my relevance? Why do I exist here? And then we begin to have pain from the imagination of us being this small person that exists in relationship to this huge amount of space. And that frightens us. We're afraid of that. Because again, it reminds us of our vulnerability. We believe we're born into this body and that we die with this body. And that we're in relationship with this huge world, this huge thing that we're not in control of and we don't understand how it works. But when you take that back down again, really, it's the same pain as the pain of relationships not working, the same pain as being in a car accident. They're kind of all similar pains. We perceive we're alive, we believe we're limited, and we believe that life is happening to us, and we want to find a solution to that to make us safe, to save us. And there is no saviour in form. All forms are going to die, if that's what we call the word of change. All forms are going to change into other forms. It's happening all the time. It's happening right now. So these bodies that's being looked through are going to die. And they are going to experience pain. And they are going to experience pleasure. Well, that's not very good English. They are going to experience pleasure. They're going to experience both of those paradigms. And when it's painful, it's going to be painful. And when it's pleasurable, it's going to be pleasurable. And when it's scary, it's going to be scary. And when it's fun, it's going to be fun. It's a wild dream that's totally unpredictable. So in the human form, nothing is safe. Everything is changing all the time. But this is the great part about non-duality. There is something that doesn't get born and doesn't die. Who truly hears this now, who's truly experiencing this dream, isn't found in the dream, yet is the entire dream. It's never affected by the dream, yet it's everything that happens in the dream. It's knowing itself invisibly. It's looking through all forms, but yet it can't be looked at as a specific object. But it's in the looking, it's in the seeing, it's in the hearing, in the feeling. And that you that fears its mortality is appearing in the dream and isn't actually an experiencer. In this realization, there is great freedom. It doesn't escape the human form. This dream is still being experienced through the human form, but there is this freedom of remembering who you truly are. And this affects the character. And then also there is this invisible movement back to a stillness. And it affects the character and the character's life, but it doesn't save the character from pleasure and pain, and from its conditioning, and from its destiny, its particular story it's got to live out. But it's seen that there is a saviour in what's happening. But it's not anybody's saviour. It is the nature of all things. So that which you seek in the personal world, the saviour in time, the saviour from pain, is actually that which is experiencing itself now. And it's right here. It's endlessly free. Beautiful. It's totally beautiful. So on the relative level, there is no way out of being human, but then there is this realization and remembrance of this absolute level, which is always present. And this realization is spontaneous and can only happen now. It's a spontaneous and free realization that isn't something that goes into time. So it's not, you can't deepen into this realization. This realization is only ever here. But the effects of this realization can deepen in the human form over time. And there's a big difference between that. You don't own this realization because there is no you, but the effect of this realization for no one, the effects of that deepen in the human, in the character through time. And I don't see an end to that. In human form, there can always be the growth towards that, the growth in that. But the realization is always spontaneous and always present and doesn't belong to someone. You can't gradually get this over time. It's only here. There is nobody to get it over time. From the character's perspective, it seems like it's going through a process getting it in time, but then it gets to a point when it realizes it was never happening to that person. That person was a happening in that freedom, and that freedom never left, never got covered, never got veiled. It was always free, knowing itself as this.